point is being recorded. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video because my only role in this now will be managing the Zoom.
Give me 1 second.
And then once Kim's back, we will we'll get going with the YouTube stream too. Alrighty. Kim, are we ready?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. So we are now broadcasting this to YouTube, or at least we will be in a moment.
Phil, I'm going to start talking once you advance to the next slide, right?
Well, you can start whenever you want to because we are recording now. Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Kim Porter, Director of Community Development for the Village of Woodridge. And I'd like to thank you all for participating in the review of the applicant's response to the March 2nd, 2020 Plan Commission hearing. Next slide, Phil. So just an overview of today's presentation. All plans presented in this video have not yet been formally reviewed by staff. Staff will prepare a report and present to the Plan Commission on Monday, June 29th. The village has committed to offering multiple options for those who wish to provide comment to be entered into the record. After watching this video, you can email your comments to commentspc@vil.woodridge.il.us prior to noon on Monday, June 29th, or you can leave a voicemail with your comments by calling us at 630-719-4901 by noon on Monday, June 29th. Or the village is working on technology to allow members of the public to call in live to the June 29th meeting. Details will follow on the village website. And lastly, the village is also working on a way to safely permit in-person comment. Details will follow on our village website. And again, I'd like to thank you all for participating with us. In the room is only the Village of Woodridge staff, myself, Director of Community Development, Kim Porter, as well as Phil Green, planner, and the Cameron General Consulting team. Next slide. Project overview. The contract purchaser of the subject property, that will be Cameron General Contractors, Inc., is proposing to construct an all-inclusive resort-style community exclusively for adults 55 and over. The project, referred to as the Prairie Ridge Retirement Community, includes a 3-story, 178,362 square foot, 51-foot tall, independent living senior apartment development to house 130 units, with the 44 garages and 119 service parking space. 44 garage stalls and 119 surface parking spaces. As proposed, Prairie Ridge will provide all-inclusive market rate apartments restricted to those ages 55 and older. The community will be professionally staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and feature live-in managers, concierge and valet services, weekly housekeeping for the individual dwelling units as well. Next slide, please. Project history to date. So on March 2nd, the Plan Commission held a public hearing to consider an application for a rezoning and preliminary plan unit development plan and plat. The public hearing was closed, but the Plan Commission's consideration was continued, subject to the following 4 items for the purpose of this presentation today. The applicant was to review how they would handle existing wells on the subject property. The Plan Commission wanted the applicant to further review the potential impact of traffic to and from the property. The Plan Commission also requested that the applicant provide further detail on their tree replacement survey and revisit their proposed landscaping offering. And further work was needed on emergency vehicle access to the property. Next slide.
So that is actually the end of our slides for now.
Thank you. So now at this time, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant. Thank you.
Okay. Alexa, I've just made you co-host. Feel free to share your screen.
Okay, thank you. And Lenny, I don't know if you were speaking, but I think you need to turn yourself off of mute.
Can you hear me? Thanks, Alexa. I want to thank Kim and Phil, the village administrator, and the village staff for its time and input with respect to this application and the review and comments. My name is Lenny Asaro. I'm an attorney at Dinsmore & Scholl. I'm one of the attorneys of the firm who represents Cameron General Contractors with respect to the various applications that have been submitted and that it's pending before the Plan Commission. I just want to take an opportunity to introduce the applicant and the witnesses who are present today. One is Bob Lewis. He's the Director of Development of Cameron General Contractors, Inc., Resort Lifestyle Communities. Next is Payman Humayoni, engineer at Bowman Consulting. Next is Michael Young, Senior Traffic Engineer at Bowman Consulting. Next is Carlos Garcia, Principal Director of Transportation at Bowman Consulting. Dwight Kaiser of Kaiser and Vogren Design, and Katie Radowski of Kaiser and Vogren Design. Also present is Alexa Turney, who is a consultant engineer with Bowman Consulting. I'm going to provide just a general overview of what the applicant will be addressing and presenting in this continuation of the initial Plan Commission meeting. We will summarize the request that the applicant is seeking. Next, we will present responses to letters from the village staff. There's a letter from village staff dated May 29, 2020. Included in that letter was a reference to two other letters. One was a letter from James J. Bennis and Associates dated May 21, 2020, and a letter from V3 dated May 18, 2020. Both letters were authored by the village's engineering and traffic consultants. Beginning with the summary of the requested relief, the applicant seeks a rezoning from the DuPage County R3 residential district to the village's A2 residential district. Second, the applicant seeks an amendment to the village's comprehensive plan, future land use framework plan for the community commercial single-family residential land use designation to the multifamily residential medium density land use designation. Third, a special use permit for a planned unit development with the following deviations from the zoning regulations. A, section 9-5E-3F, an increase in the maximum building height from 35 feet to allow a 51-foot building. The next item requested relief is under section 9-5E-3G, seeking an increase to the maximum floor area ratio from 0.35 to 0.44. The next item has to do with section 9-10-2-1A, reduction from the required parking ratio of 1.5 per dwelling unit to 1.22 per dwelling unit. The next item is under section 9-13-7C. That is the elimination of the requirement of planting trees in the parkway. And then lastly, I'm sorry, that concludes all the requested relief or deviations. And then finally, the final requested relief is preliminary PUD plan and plat. So with that, at this time, we would respond to the letters from the village as well as the village consultants. The first letter is the letter from the village dated May 29th, 2020. And I would like to turn it over to Payman from Bowman Consulting to essentially quarterback the responses. And so let's start with comment number 1, 2, and 3. We'll go in that order. And I believe that the response to those comments will be addressed by Katie and Dwight.
Yes, that's correct, Lenny. Thanks.
Thank you.
And Alexa, if you want to share our sheets. So Comment number 1, to summarize, the village requires the tree preservation plan to be presented in both graphical and tabular formats. And for those trees set to remain, please provide details on protection to be employed during construction. So we have included a tree preservation plan as L0.1 in this submittal. We have also included the tabular data as a supplemental sheet. The trees shown on this sheet, the trees shown to be removed are highlighted in red for clarity. And the tree protection is also included on this sheet where the detailed information can be found on our detail sheets. Comment number 2, please clearly indicate the amount of landscaping being dedicated to meeting the tree replacement requirements and the landscaping being dedicated to meeting landscape yard requirements. Please note that the landscaping cannot be double counted. I can confirm that the landscape is not being double counted. As shown on the screen, L4.6, this is our tree replacement plan. The trees shown on this plan are not being counted towards other requirements. And the trees shown on this plan are only being counted towards the replacement requirements. Comment number 3, staff requests based on public comment that the applicant look at planting trees that complement or match those trees being removed as closely as possible. Based on the public comments, we have taken into consideration looking at revising some of the proposed plant material to some of what was existing on the site. However, you'll also find that some of the material still remained as we felt that it still did complement or match the existing environment. Some of the substitutions we did make, and Alexa, if you want to zoom in, if you can, just to the plant schedule. We have the Norway spruce is substituted for the Serbian spruce, the white oak is substituted for the pin oak, and there is a mix of wild black cherry and swamp white oak substituted for the American linden tree. And I think that covers it. Lenny, I think you're muted.
It's a habit. Thank you, Katie, for addressing comments 1, 2, and 3. The next is comment number 6 in the letter from the village. And so I turn that over to Payman.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I'm Payman with Bowman Consulting, civil engineer. Comment number 6, staff provides a copy of water well review and please incorporate. So a copy of the water well review is included in the package. The report was prepared by V3 and basically on the second page, and they've gone through, obviously, gone through the process, and on page 3, on the last paragraph of the second paragraph from top of page 3, their conclusion is that based on both depth and aquifer and the water table, basically, the result is, their opinion is that V3 that proposed development should not have any impact on the flow of groundwater or its water quality, and that further evaluation of groundwater is not required. But that should address the water well comment. Comment number 6. And comment number 7 is please ensure that address the issue of traffic circulation through the community due to the project and emergency access route. We have had numerous conversations and coordination with Lyle Woodridge Fire Department and also DUDOT and also IDOT and the village, of course. The coordination with the fire department, they've provided us with the specification of the fire truck. We use that information and and utilize that information in modeling the fire truck turning templates. That movement is illustrated on Exhibit 1. That's basically fire truck movement template. The exhibit shows that the fire truck would be entering the site from I-53, entering the access road, and circulate through the sites. The illustration, basically, the blue and red shows the path of the fire truck, enters the site, and it shows that clearly it makes all the movements through the site, and also it could exit from the north entrance to the access road of 75th Street. And then it would travel basically west or east, to Westview stop sign and then exit the community. That addresses the comments regarding the fire truck movements. Also, there were a couple other items that came up. One was the trash turning movements on this trash truck turning movements on this site. And again, with the same software, we model the standard trash pickup entering the site from the access road, come and enter the site on the north side, and make the movement to the southwest corner of the building where the dumpster enclosures are. And then truck would basically make the movements into I-53 and exit the development. And the next item was, there was also a question that came up about the moving truck entering and making through the site. And again, with this moving, basically the moving trucks entering the site off of the access road on 75th Street would enter the site, making the right turn, moving to the west side of the site, to the southwest corner of the building where the loading area is. And then they would exit basically onto I-53. And those were the questions about the movements. I think that concludes the letter.
Thank you, Payman. And you just covered comment number 5 and comment number 7, correct?
Correct. Let's move down. Correct. Yes, exactly.
Okay. And with respect to comment number 4, comment number 4 has to do with the providing a basis for the requested deviations from the zoning ordinance. As outlined earlier, we've identified the requested deviations. At the initial Plan Commission meeting, the applicant presented evidence and testimony to establish that the requested deviations will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare, and as a result are in the public interest. That is the standard as identified in the zoning ordinance with regard to the proposed application, in particular section 9-14-6J and 9-14-7C, as well as section 9-14-7. At the initial Plan Commission meeting, the applicant presented the testimony of Mr. Bob Lewis, Mr. Payman Humayoni, George Kissel, AICP of Okrent Kissel Associates. He's an architect and land planner, as well as Mary Lindberger, MAI of Mary Lindberger and Company. She is a licensed and designated MAI appraiser. The applicant also presented various plans and expert reports. Number 1, the preliminary PUD plan, preliminary elevations, preliminary engineering plan, preliminary landscape plan, and preliminary traffic study, and revisions to such plans and reports based on feedback from the village and its independent engineering consultants, the fire district, Illinois Department of Transportation, the DuPage County Department of Transportation, the neighboring property owners, and the public. The opinions that are contained in those reports and that were testified to at the initial hearing establish that the requested deviations in relief from the zoning regulations will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare, and as a result are in the public interest. Moving on to comment number 5 that references the letter from V3 companies. And that's a letter dated May 18, 2020. The applicant has submitted a written response to the letter from V3. And so I turn it over to Payman and Carlos to address the comments and the responses thereto regarding the preliminary PUD.
Great. All right. Thank you, Lenny. With this basically on the, so the comment number 1 basically shows the emergency access. So let's see, this is the letter from, okay, so fire department comments basically was that to replace and update the existing emergency vehicle preemption at the intersection of Route 53 and 75th Street. One thing that came up, I imagine, and that was this response to this comment was actually explained in detail in the V3 response letter. And in that, there was some discussion about, you know, during all the discussions between the village and fire department, DuPage County, and also IDOT, there was no initial discussion about any modification to the preemption of the intersection for emergency vehicle. Just recently, that comment came up, and it is our understanding that if that system is currently functional, and there was no indication that actually that system is not functional at the moment. So it was our understanding that there was no need for any improvements to the preemption system. So for now, we would like basically, or we would like to, you know, not make any improvements, or if there is any improvements actually to do any preemption or any improvement to the preemption for that intersection. And also there was, may want to actually reference the
Payman. Can I just also add into the comment here, and I apologize. This is regarding the letter, and it's the comment number 1 under fire department and comment number 2 under fire department. So you've addressed the response. I just want to augment that with the fact that in terms of the timeline between the date of filing the development application and the Plan Commission meeting that took place, the applicant spent substantial time and effort working with IDOT, DUDOT, and the fire department to develop an emergency access plan. The communication between the parties was open, cooperative, and collaborative. After the first Plan Commission meeting, the applicant acknowledged the comments made by not only the commission, but the public, and then took those comments seriously and re-engaged with IDOT, DUDOT, and the fire department to revise the emergency access plan so that it would now be located on Route 53. Prior to the village's letter dated May 29, 2020, wherein the village provided comments on the latest revisions to the preliminary PUD plans, which included the emergency access plan, the applicant worked with IDOT, DUDOT, and the fire department again to obtain cooperation and consensus on the final emergency access plan. The collaboration and feedback resulted in the approval of the latest revised emergency access plan. And at no time during those discussions, which were very cooperative and collaborative, did anyone, in particular the fire department, raise an issue about the preemption improvements at the intersection being substandard or not adequate to serve the community. However, after approving those plans, the fire department expressed a comment about replacing and updating the existing emergency vehicle preemption. It is, the applicant notes that the preemption at the intersection is adequate as it currently services not only the intersection and the properties to the south of the intersection, but also to Cedarhurst Assisted Living and Memory Care, which is would be across the street from the proposed development on Route 53. And their interest is on Route 53. There's no evidence to suggest that the existing preemption at the intersection is substandard or will be substandard as a result of the proposed project. Furthermore, it would appear that there would be no basis to impose the entire financial burden of replacing the existing adequately operating preemption at the intersection by placing the burden of replacing it on the applicant. If an updated preemption system is desired by the fire department, then equity would be our respectful position that would require the cost be shared equally among the beneficiaries of such an improvement. And the comment also that we just shared, myself and Payman, regarding item number 1 carries over to item number 2. Item number 2 seeks the applicant to install an interconnected do not block driveway sign on Route 53 that's interconnected with the preemption, the emergency vehicle preemption at the intersection. The applicant is agreeable and happy to install a do not block sign at the emergency entrance on Route 53, but for the reasons as previously stated, does not believe that the interconnection with a replaced preemption is that there's a basis for it. So those are our responses to comments 1 and 2 in the letter from V3 regarding the fire department comments. So I turn it back over to you, Payman.
Yes, thank you. So now going through the traffic review comments. At this point, we'll turn that over to Carlos and Michael to go over the TIA comments.
Perfect, thank you. So we work closely with V3 companies and the additional company that provided a most recent study, James Bennis and Associates. We coordinated our responses with Tom Adamczyk, and I believe he also coordinated with the village our responses. And at this moment, I'd like to allow Michael to describe the responses.
Thanks, Carlos. So comment number 1 states, please update the TIA to incorporate the responses to comments and updated exhibits contained in the April 2, 2020 response letter from Bowman Consulting Group Limited to Heidi E. Voyrel of V3 Companies. So in our response, we state that we had included the response to comments in the updated figures as an addendum to the TIA, not a full resubmission. The context to that is V3 Companies in their review had agreed that the results of our capacity analysis, of our traffic analysis, were sound, and they were not requesting any changes to our traffic analysis. Therefore, because they agreed with the results of our traffic analysis, it's a little uncommon to request a full resubmission of the TIA. We coordinated directly with V3 to include the revised traffic volume figures they were requesting as an addendum. The revised traffic volume figures they requested clearly identify the route that we project traffic will travel through the neighborhood, which Heidi from V3 stated was something that both the village and the public would want to see. But again, I want to emphasize, did not change the underlying results of our analysis. Therefore, we propose to package the 2 items together, the original TIA with the analysis unchanged and the addendum with the updated figures in the response to comments. And we will submit that revised package to the Village of Woodridge for clarification and clerical purposes, just to ensure that both documents are always together and that all pertinent traffic information is easily accessible and organized. Comment number 2, the no-build scenario capacity analyses include some duplicate capacity analysis runs with differing dates and differing results. Please update the report appendices to provide the final analyses and remove the incorrect duplicate analyses. This is a very similar comment to comment number 1, where it will be addressed through the resubmission, packaging the 2 items together. It's a little extraneous erroneous analysis that was included from one of the previous versions of the traffic study that will be removed. But again, I want to emphasize comment number 2 in no way changes the underlying results and conclusions of the original study. And comment number 3 states, recently the proposed development plan for lots 2 and 3 at the Cedarhurst development was revised from retail use to medical office building. Please request from the village the new Cedarhurst development medical office traffic projections and update the Prairie Ridge TIA analyses and report to incorporate the plan change in land use at Cedarhurst. As Carlos mentioned, this comment was closely coordinated with Mr. Thomas Adamczyk from James J. Benison Associates, who then passed on our coordination to the Village of Woodridge and responded to us that our approach was deemed acceptable. It was agreed that to satisfy this comment, instead, in lieu of a resubmission of the TIA, Bowman would prepare a trip generation comparison memorandum that demonstrates that the trips associated with the new proposed land use referenced in the comment, the medical office building, are actually fewer than what was included in the original TIA, which was a retail portion along with the restaurant. This would, to give a little context, a little more context to this response, the original Cedarhurst development traffic that was included in the TIA, as I had mentioned, included a fast food restaurant and a drugstore. And the new proposed office, which is medical office, is expected to generate far fewer trips. This means that in our analysis, the Cedarhurst traffic volumes that were included were much higher on the roadways than what would be expected upon construction and in the real world once the development is built. Therefore, the analysis that we have included in the original study, along with the associated conclusions of that analysis, which were that our proposed development will not have a negative impact on the roadway network, are sound, and not only sound but conservative, because we were actually including traffic projections higher than what would be expected with this redevelopment at Cedarhurst. So again, this was closely coordinated with Mr. Adamczyk, who let us know the Village of Woodridge was amenable to this approach and found it acceptable. And with that, I'll pass it back on to Payman for the preliminary site plan comments.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael and Carlos. I appreciate it. So following up on the comment and response letter on the preliminary site plan TIA comments, comment number 1 is basically it's asked for the auto turn exhibit, updated auto turn exhibit through the development. And this was pretty much the response that provided previously for the fire truck and also trash pickup and then moving truck through the sites. As I mentioned before, we have coordination with the fire department, and the fire truck movement was in accordance with their specification, and then also with the trash pickup and also moving trucks. And those 3 exhibits are included in the submittal package. Let's see, the next comment number 2 is submit the proposed right-in, right-out access driveway geometry to IDOT for review, and that's being coordinated. Basically, the entrance to I-53 has been coordinated with the village and also with IDOT. And that basically that exhibit shows. There's a proposed island pork chop, at the entrance, and we have also widened the exit portion of the entrance to 24 feet, and that is wide enough for not only our guests to exit the site, but also the resident to exit the site, but also wide enough for the fire truck to enter the site through the 53. The first 12 feet adjacent to the island would be striped and has reflectors on it, so it prevents people from driving over it, and that will save that space for the fire truck to exit to enter the site. Let's see. So comment number 3 is to extend the proposed sidewalk along I-53 to the north and to the south to Fox Ridge Townhouse on the basically on I-53, we added the sidewalk that's alongside, it's basically frontage of our property along I-53. So from the entrance, the sidewalk will go all the way north to the, just basically along the frontage of the property. And it would go through the pork chop and also extend it south to our southern property along our southern property corner, up to the southern property corner. And it's my opinion, or it's basically it's our opinion, that the sidewalk basically would be basically obligated to extend or terminate the sidewalk basically alongside of the property. And that's basically where we extend it to. The next comment is identify the ADA accessible route on the site to the public right of way. The updated plan, so we updated the plan that shows the access from the building, and the designation is marked by line type, that's basically dotted line type, and that has been added to the legend with a symbol that basically is dotted. And that pathway on the plan is basically highlighted on the plan from the front of the building into the handicap parking spaces, and then north all the way to the sidewalk alongside of the public right-of-way, and also same pattern from the south side of the building and extends all the way to right-of-way of I-53. And that pretty much concludes the comments associated with EIA. And with that, I'll pass that to Lenny.
Thank you, Payman. So that concludes the responses to the letter from V3 dated May 18, 2020. Next is the response to the letter from James J. Bennison Associates dated May 21, 2020. So,
is this the, let's see, is this the V3 comment?
yeah, we just completed the comments regarding the letter from V3. Next is the letter from James J. Bennis, in particular with respect to the preliminary PUD. Just the comments regarding the preliminary PUD.
Sounds good.
So I turn that over to Payman and to Carlos.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Lenny. So we'll go through basically, we'll basically go in to the comments that's specifically associated with the preliminary PUD. That would start out with comment number 7. It says provide a 10-foot wide easement, public utility easement along I-53 and 75th Street. And a 10-foot wide utility easement has been added along I-53 and 75th Street. And that's been added to the PUD plan. That has been illustrated on basically on the north side of the property. The 10-foot wide easement has been delineated and also noted alongside of the property, and also on the north side and also on the west side. Okay. And let's say the next comment number 8. Is regarding the USFWS section 7, and that's related to the northern long urban path. And so basically for that, we added a note to the plan that basically the tree removal would not occur within the dates July 1st to July 31st. That note has been added to C1.1 note number 2 on the PUD plans. Okay, the next comment, number 9, or are we basically going to, yes, so next comment. So existing conditions, so comment number 6 is survey note number 7 was basically referencing that there was no wetland, but wetland has been delineated. So that note has been updated on sheet C1.1. And it basically was referenced that when and how it was delineated. Good. The next comment is the site plan comment, that the emergency vehicle from a fire station to Wood Ridge Drive on 70 is not sufficient access not to provide on the West 75th Street. Basically on, again, with the coordination with Village and also Fire Department and DuPage County, the comment was basically the existing access road currently is about 17.5 feet wide. So on the plan, we proposed or showed delineated that the existing access road will be widened from 17.5 feet to 24 feet wide. And also it would extend all the way from our north entrance to Westview intersection, or basically right to the stop sign, basically. In addition to that, the sidewalk will be extended. And in addition to that, also the temporary cul-de-sac, or actually not temporary, but a full cul-de-sac has been added for vehicle turnaround right at the north entrance. And the next comment is include the improvement required for a DOT in connection to 75th Street and IDOT work on the I-53. Please note that IDOT will likely not to allow retaining wall within the IDOT right of way, and also over the sanitary sewer and water main. So at the west entrance, we proposed, or we added, the 5-foot sidewalk as it was requested along the west side of the site, from the entrance all the way to the northwest corner of our property, and also to the southwest corner, basically along the frontage of our site. Let's see, the next comment is comment number 4. And again, this is basically related to the same comment, same sidewalk that we just mentioned. ADA ramps was also added at the pork chops. And it was, so on both sides of the pork chop, the ADA ramp was added. And the cross hatching also is added for pedestrian. Could provide a cul-de-sac turnaround at the frontage, and as we mentioned previously, the cul-de-sac has been added at the west side of the access road. Let's see, the next item is basically was a new comment, the frontage widening to the full depth. We had discussion about extending obviously the existing access road from 17.5 feet to 24 foot. This the full depth would be associated with the 6.5 foot widening going from 17.5 foot to 24 feet. Not the entire, not redoing the entire access road, and that was discussed with the village. And we would be basically matching the existing access pavement section. Comment number 22, adjust I-53 southbound exit to 2 lanes. And as basically previously we mentioned, the exit lane from our site onto I-53 was widened to 24 feet wide. And basically the first 12 feet, or the northern 12 feet, would be for our residents to exit the site. And then the southern 12 feet would be cross-hatched, and it would have a reflectors between the, between the 2 lanes. And the southern 12 foot would be reserved for the emergency vehicle to enter the site from I-53. Let's see, the next comment is grading and drainage. And basically for the so label basin numbers, and the normal water level and high water level. And this information has been added to the detention facility. And there was also discussion about removing the gabion baskets, which are not preferred in the detention ponds within the village requirements. Typically, retaining wall will be revised. So we have updated the detention facilities and removed the gabion walls and replaced it with basically gravity wall within the pond area. And this was discussion with the village engineer and also V3. So gabion walls have been removed. Normal water surface elevation has been added to the ponds per requested, and that was in the normal basin must be accessed. So the basin design must allow access to the bottom. One other thing we added to the plan per the comments was we provided access from the site to the detention facility. And as Alexa is highlighting, basically is one would be on the east side that access the southern ponds, basically would enter from the east pond and then across the east pond and between the two ponds and into the middle pond. And same applies to our furthest west pond. The access to the pond will be provided by the, as is highlighted, basically from the access road into the detention facility. Let's see the next item. That would be as part of the preliminary final engineering traffic impact study. Carlos, would you want to take a look at? So basically, actually on this one, so this one there was a discussion with UDOT, and initially, obviously going back and forth a few times with UDOT as part of the emergency access to the site. The intermediate design was to provide some sort of a grasscrete coming in from I-73 onto the north entrance of the site. And this comment is basically requesting that that grasscrete portion will be to be removed. And the plan has been updated that that portion of the grasscrete has been removed, and the turnaround has been provided on the access road of 75th Street. And that's a yes. So initially, basically, there was a connection, emergency connection between the end of the cul-de-sac and on the southern edge of I-75th Street, and exactly as is highlighted. So that portion, the grasscrete portion, was deleted on the plan and extended with the cul-de-sac for turnaround. Next item is the 75th Street Service Road. Appears to be approximately 17 to 18 feet wide. It was supposed to be 24 feet, and as previously discussed, the preliminary PUD plan has been updated to widen the access road from 17.5 feet to 24 feet wide. And the temporary cul-de-sac has been added to the west end of the access road. Shows on the plan. And yes, and that basically the widen extend all the way from our north entrance all the way to Westview at the stop sign. Next comment is associated with the fire department comment.
Yeah. Payment, not to interrupt, but I think that this letter is the V3 letter.
Exactly. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're addressing the Bennett's letter. We need to address.
Sorry, Lenny, we did that one first.
Oh, we did.
We swapped them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, exactly. So, and basically, Lenny, as you mentioned,
Yeah, we already covered this one. We already
yes,
covered
exactly.
these 2 points.
Yes.
Okay.
So 1 and 2 is already covered. Let's see, and I believe that concludes the V3 review comments. With that, I'll send it back to Lenny.
Okay, thanks. So then, Alexa, we've covered the V3 letter and the Bennett's letter, correct? Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, we accidentally swapped them. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. And so then the last item is that following the Plan Commission meeting, the village staff, presumably having reviewed the video of the first meeting, their notes from the first meeting, as well as potentially a transcript from the first meeting, and emails received and communication received from the public, generated a document that contained a list of questions for the applicant to provide written responses. And I believe the written responses that we submitted were submitted on or about June 1st, 2020. And there are 6 pages of questions and answers. And it's my understanding that the written responses to the public's questions have been uploaded to the village's website for the public and anyone else to review. So I just refer to the questions and answers. I'm not going to go through each question and answer because it is in writing and it has been uploaded and available to the public for review and for further review. That concludes what we will be presenting today with respect to the letters from village staff dated May 29, 2020, as well as the 2 other letters from the village's consultants, one of them dated May 21st, 2020, and the other May 18, 2020. That is all that we have to present today.
I would like to thank the applicant's development team for providing a very robust presentation with respect to your responses to the Plan Commission's questions and or comments at the last Plan Commission meeting. Please note that this video will be available for a total of 10 days for you to be able to review over and over again so that you can provide comments, questions, to commentspc at vil.woodridge.il.us. Just to reinstate, staff has not reviewed any of these submitted documents that the applicant has provided. Again, this is only the applicant's response. As many of you know, due to this worldwide health epidemic, or excuse me, pandemic that we are currently experiencing, communities across the country have to be creative with respect to being as transparent as possible and providing as much input as possible as we continue on with the business of our respective communities. Both the Plan Commission and the viewing public will be able to review this and generate any questions and comments for that June 29th Plan Commission meeting. As always, staff will provide a Plan Commission report, and per village protocols, that Plan Commission report will be available on our website on June 26th. So next steps. Plan Commission will meet on June 29th to discuss their recommendation to the Village Board. The Village Board will meet at a date to be determined to vote on the preliminary plan unit development, rezoning, and annexation agreement. If the applicant is successful, the Village Board would hold a further public hearing to determine annexation of the subject property. If they're successful with that, the Plan Commission will then hold a public hearing on the final plat and plan of plan unit development. The village will then meet to vote on the final plan and plat of plan unit development. When I said the village, that would be the Village Board of Trustees. And if successful, building permits would be applied for, approved, issued, and a project will commence. So there are several bites at the apple to provide comments throughout the next steps of this particular project. I'd like to thank you all for viewing this video, and we look forward to hearing your questions and comments via, again, the various avenues that you'll be able to provide those questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you.